Hello and welcome back to the channel, and this week you can probably already tell I've already started a bit of working on the Vauxhall Corsa. We've had a bit of a problem with the front bumper, so we're reconstructing it, and I'm going to show you a few bits about how to take the bumper off, how to put it back on again, also the repairs that we're doing to the bumper. It's mainly the plastic work, which can be a real pain on bumpers, and a full bumper is very expensive, so if you can do some repairs like we're doing, it saves an awful lot of money. So I'm going to take you through that and we'll show you it this time. Well, what we're working on is the Vauxhall Corsa. This is the Corsa D, which is the 2010 model. Now you can see I've already taken off the full front bumper and also actually the crash bar. I'll show you the reason for the crash bar being off. That needs a replacement, so we've got a brand new one of those on its way. To take the front bumper off, it's not too bad. The hardest part is you have to make sure there's a couple of the little torx bolts that go in through the plastic guard in the wheel arch. Those two there, that takes those bottom ones. Then there's a load along the bottom. You can actually see the white bracket that goes into the bottom here. So there's a load of torx that go into those, and then there's a couple that run along the top here as well, and they all come out the crash bar. Quite straightforward actually. It's just this torx bolt here. You can see I've put it back in just so I know where it goes. One either side, and that holds the crash bar in. You can also see we have taken out the left hand side, so that's passenger side front light, because as well we had two of the brackets actually damaged on that. The plastic has damaged, so we've tried a repair on that. Whether that'll work or not, I'm not sure at this stage, but we can give it a go. Let's go and take you through to the bumper and I'll show you what we've done there. Most of the repair here is actually cosmetic that we're going for. You can see this is the upper section on the Corsa bumper, and it's mainly that what we've had is we've had a front collision that has pushed this in and snapped most of this part of the plastic, so that's all come off. A lot of the clips have snapped as well, and it was all flapping about, not great. So what I did was I managed to get a replacement panel like this, you can see, which actually fits onto the front of the car. Let me go and show you actually on my daughter's. You can see how this fits on. So this is part of the body coloured bumper around this panel, and then behind it is the panel that I was just showing you. So if I now go back over, you can see that piece. Now the problem being, these are actually plastic welded on. You can see where we've actually snapped all of the plastic welds off to take them off. So I would not recommend buying this panel to do this repair. It's pretty much a full bumper, but for saving cost, that's what we went for. If I show you behind it, you can see the kind of plastic welds that are used. And what I did is I've dremeled these to get them off. You can see there, that one there, to get them back off. Now of course that now makes a problem. How do you attach the replacement that we got? Well, what I've decided on is glue. We've gone with an epoxy glue to fasten it all back together again. Clamped it, left it overnight, and I think the results work actually. If we take a look, you can see that's the replacement piece. You can see a little bit of the epoxy has seeped, you can see a little bit there, but actually I'm quite pleased with that. You can see it's held in place. And that's pretty sturdy, because obviously you don't want any of these parts coming out. You don't want anything jagged or sharp or anything like that, because of course that is part of an MOT fail. If you do have something jagged or that can cause injury sticking out of your car, and so these parts were prime candidates because the clips behind these were all snapped. And you can see the glue, need to tidy the glue up a little bit, it has overran a touch, but I'm really happy with the result there. You can see the top small bolts that hold in. Most of this bumper, I've got to say, is kind of clipped in place. You hook it on to the body, to the car, and then you just put a few of those bolts in. You can see at the bottom there, you can see the bolt holes that hold it from underneath the car, and on the side there where the red clip is, that's the side ones. Now these are small torx that hold it. They're a real pain actually. They round off easily, they rust and go quite bad. So if you're doing this yourselves, I would suggest getting some replacements and putting some new ones on when you do this job, because putting the old ones back on, they're only going to do that a couple of times and then I think they're going to rust and round off and go nasty. That may be a problem that I come to when we put this back together, but we'll give it a go. To take the front bumper off, these bolts come off, which allows us to release this part, and then in the wheel arch take the liner off either side. These then pop out and you can lift the bumper off. And now the front bumper's off, we can get at the crash bar, which is on one bolt either side, not too tight, so just take that off. What you might find though is the bolt is difficult to take out with the light in place. You might be better off taking the light out to let the bolt come up and get free. I'm going to replace the bumper bar with a new one. So to put the light back in, we've got the connector block here. You can see, to remove, you slide the clip sideways, which then releases it, and putting it back in is the opposite. Just hold that. Just put the clip back in first. There's not a lot of wire on it. And as you push the clip in, it pulls the connector and grabs it in place. So to remove it, you push a screwdriver in and lift it out, and it'll just come straight out. You don't need to use any force. If you're using force, it's not released. And then you just line up each of the notches into place. The top one drops down onto it. See the alignment there needed to go in first, and then clip that in, and that's our bolts in place. Longer bolt is in the bottom, and then these two. So if you do need to remove the headlight, you do have to unclip this part of the bumper. This is the clip that most people forget and will end up snapping, and then these just need fastened into place. Now you lift that up and push. Putting the bracket back on again at the bottom of this bumper on the Corsa. I've got to admit, I've skipped quite a bit of filming of this because this job has just been a bit of a pain. Sometimes things just don't go right. Having problems with headlight mounts, putting it back together, then realising that you've jammed one of the wires. So I forgot to reconnect. On the front of the bumper at the bottom there is the outside temperature sensor. What I did is, because I left the car overnight, I'd tucked that cable and sensor up out of the way to protect it, which makes sense. However, I'd forgotten about that and put the light back into place, and of course the light actually sat on top of the wire, so hid it, but also meant that I couldn't free the wire without taking the whole bumper back off and the light back out and doing it all again. The process of which the clip that holds the light, two fixings, the top and the bottom, they snapped. So I've now been trying to glue those back into place. I'm not sure they're going to hold very well, so I'll just have to see how that goes. But what I hoped would be a fairly straightforward job has just hit obstacles every bit of the way, and I think that's kind of what happens with cars half the time, isn't it? So I'm busy just putting the rest of the bumper back on again, and I'll try and summarise it and show you what I've done, but it's not a very good how-to video, this one, unfortunately, so it's more just a bit of a waffle about how awkward Vauxhall Corsas are generally. Always easier when you do the wheel arch like this. Turn the wheel, and you get much easier access. You don't need to take the whole thing off either.
In the house.
When you're taking the liner out, turn the wheel slightly, lets you get to that, and the one above it up here. You don't need to take the whole wheel arch liner out. It's just the front two that we're interested in, really. There we go, that's that side done. Another handy one on the other side. Can't get the screwdriver in that easy. Could turn the wheel, but also using one of these as a right angle does the job nicely. It's always a handy one as well. So that's on, that's secure. We've put the little bolt along the top there, and you can now see bumper's back in place. It's looking all flush. Needs a little bit of cleaning, so I'll give that a little bit of a clean up, but otherwise I think that's worked quite well. It looks like we're back in business. And there we go, as usual, a little bit frustrating on the Corsa. They do get a bit awkward, these cars, at times, doing something that should be straightforward, but I think we've come out with a decent result. We haven't ended up having to buy a new bumper or a new light in the end, and it's just got to go for an MOT this week, so I'll take you along to the MOT and we'll see how we get on in a bit. Well, that's the bumper back on, and you can see it's all back together with the new crash bar. So that's good news. It's going to go off for the MOT now. I'm going to show you the MOT in the next video and go over what's gone wrong and what needs doing, because you probably saw, if you're on the Facebook group, that it had an MOT fail. So we'll cover that in the next video. Otherwise, please subscribe, keep an eye on the channel, also like us on Facebook as well, and I'll see you in the next video.